You're now listening to All Hog Sports, covering all Arkansas Razorback sports, such as football, basketball, baseball, and much more. Now, here's your host for today's show, Sam Stimson.
Arkansas lost an absolute heartbreaker of a game in Dallas. A number of things went wrong throughout the game, and at the end of the game, it resulted in Arkansas losing. In the final couple minutes of the game, Cam Little set up for a 42-yard field goal, kicks it, the ball hits the top of the goalpost and bounces out. Doesn't bounce in. Arkansas ended up losing 23-21 to the Texas A&M Aggies. Hogs dropped back 10 spots in the AP poll to number 20. Arkansas had a 14-0 lead in the first quarter, and it just completely fell apart. A&M scored 23 unanswered, and then Arkansas got a touchdown and started to roll things back. I'm going to start things up with the offense because that's really been a lot of the talk recently. I thought the offense was overall pretty efficient. KJ Jefferson, 12 out of 19, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. He also had 18 carries for 105 yards and a touchdown. One of the big plays, though, that he did have was a fumble, and it was on the goal line. It was a 5-yard, I believe, 2nd and 5, 2nd and goal, and KJ tried to stretch on a quarterback draw. Lots of quarterbacks draw, in the playbook and always being worked on during practice for Arkansas. It's a very common play that you'll see, quarterback counter, quarterback draw, that type of stuff. So Arkansas executes one of those, and KJ jumped from way too early on. And when you jump with the ball, like Superman, you are risking ball security a lot. And the ball popped right out. A&M got it and got about 15 yards down the field, and Rocket Sanders was trying to tackle him, but Rocket, being an offensive player, didn't get the tackle, and then A&M actually handed the ball off to one of their other guys, and they ran down the touchdown for a fumble recovery touchdown. They missed the extra point, so that was a 6-point gain for A&M, but really a 13 or 9-point swing, as Arkansas probably would have got either a touchdown in that scenario or a field goal. That swung the whole momentum of the game. A&M was only down 1 at that point within the game. I've seen a lot of people place blame on the offensive coordinator for that play call. I not at all. I mean, you can't put that on Briles. It was just a decision that KJ made that was just unfortunate, and you got to move past it and understand in the future not to do that. Additionally, something that I think is very frustrating is that the offense has multiple times just worked so many trick plays. And we practice these trick plays, work them in practice, and then it's time to put them in a game, and every single time, Arkansas just struggles to execute them. And sure, I'm sure we're working with them well in practice, because I'm not the type to say, I don't think Sam Pittman is going to see them in practice not being executed and be like, oh, let's go try them on the field. That's not how that's not how Briles works. So we can execute them in practice. But then we go out on the Bayfield and try to execute them, and this guy misses his critical block assignments. Because the thing is, when you're running those trick plays, every little bit is so crucial to the play being right because of the amount of misdirection, to the amount of communication. Everything has to be right in a trick play to catch the other team off guard. And when those things go wrong, instantly just gets broken up. Arkansas was running down the field 14-0. Arkansas on offense, moving the ball, continuously getting a new down series. And then it's like 2nd and long, and we do a trick play. Run. Doesn't work out. 3rd and long. What do we do? A trick play. It doesn't work out. And it's just so frustrating because of how good this offense truly is. This is one of the best offenses within the SEC. The work that Kendall Briles has done with this offensive staff, with KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders, Jaden Hazelwood, he is an incredible offensive coordinator, and I'm not calling for him to be fired. But then also later in the game, a double pass for no reason while Arkansas is just running the ball and moving the chains. It just doesn't make sense to keep throwing these double passes, double handoff, reverses. I just don't understand them. And we saw it last year a lot. And Arkansas just can't execute them. And it's so frustrating to watch them happen and happen again. And the thing is, Briles is such an incredible offensive coordinator, and running the ball has worked so well. And then we just try these crazy plays, and I just don't understand it. It's frustrating to watch. And really, the whole key, I think you can just describe this game as, is frustrating. And it feels like time and time again, Arkansas plays A&M at AT&T Stadium and performs well in parts of the game, and then collapses happen, mistakes happen, and A&M gets the best of us and comes out of there with a win. 10 out of the last 11, the Aggies have beaten the Razorbacks. It's just frustrating that the offense has these trick plays and we keep running them and they don't work. I don't understand it, and it's just frustrating to watch as a fan because, I mean, you really don't see the whole insides and obviously the play calling, what goes on in practice, things like that. But they don't seem to work, and they just have to be removed from the playbook if this is going to continuously happen and cost Arkansas points on the board. Arkansas rushing 54 total team carries for 244 yards. Rocket Sanders, 17 carries for 68 yards. He had really good runs early. A&M kind of sniffed him out. Arkansas kind of went to running back by committee. Saw Rocket at the end. He had an all right game, kind of less than his big games. A.J. Green, 9 carries for 36 yards. Dominique Johnson, first game back, had 5 carries for 32 yards. Rashad Dumian had 2 carries for 17 yards. Dumian's done an incredible job with the amount of limited carries he's had, kind of being a spark for that offense. Receiving core, Warren Thompson had 2 catches for 57 yards. Hazelwood, 5 catches for 56 yards, and 1 catch from Jackson on a screen patch that ended up being a touchdown. Matt Landers had a 19-yard catch and 1 catch from Knox backs. And then Hornsby as well. Overall, I thought Arkansas had a couple times where receivers dropped the ball, a couple overthrows. But most of those times was when we were out of the pocket, been pressured a lot. So, is really can't get on to that much. Arkansas as a team had 3 lost fumbles. KJ had that 1 fumble and that ended up going the other way for the touchdown. And then another thing I forgot to talk about when the offense set up for the field goal was right before that Arkansas had really good field position and it was second down, and then the missed snap happens and ball gets loose. Arkansas ends up getting on top of the ball but loses multiple yards and has to set up for a longer field goal. There was so many things that just went wrong for the game. I think you cannot solely blame Cam Little for the loss. You can't solely blame a single individual or unit on this team. Arkansas collectively had a 14-0 lead and was clicking on all 3 cylinders, and then that went away, and we never really saw it come back. The defense has issues in the secondary. Special teams had the muffed punt that they ended up getting back. Special teams, obviously, with the doinked field goal. A couple other mishaps. Punt ended up getting dropped. Arkansas still got the ball there. There was a lot of mental mistakes that just simply were Arkansas shooting itself in the foot. It really wasn't, any outside factor, and it's very frustrating to watch that continuously happen. KJ did show a good amount of resilience, especially in the fourth quarter, driving down the field. Like I said, he's found ways to get things done, and he put Arkansas in a position to win. At the end of the game, Arkansas had a shot with the field goal, and another mishap happened, and it's just frustrating that the fumble happened. That was a huge swing in the main terms of the game. That's kind of the one play I think you can really look at and say this is where Arkansas hurt itself tremendously. Moving on to the defense, though, defense only let up 17 points. A&M obviously doesn't have the best offense, especially in passing. Mass Johnson had 11 completions for 21 attempts, 7.2 yard average, 1 touchdown, and 151 yards. There was a lot of plays where Johnson would get pressured by the Arkansas front, throw the ball away, which kind of contributed to the completion percentage. But then he had some where he would literally just throw the ball towards a number of receivers or near a receiver that Arkansas absolutely should have been able to cover, and it struggled. The Arkansas secondary was very, very bad yesterday in a lot of different ways when it comes to running protection, passing protection. Stewart had 3 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown coming later in the game. Touchdown was against Malik Chavis on the protection on that play. Overall, the Arkansas secondary just struggled a lot in zone coverages, and it's going to be difficult to coach them out of it. It's an issue. Miles Slusher, though, huge for the return of the secondary. The secondary did play better than last week. The tackling was better, but I mean, is that really saying much when we tackled at such an awful rate against Missouri State? Running, Texas A&M just dominated up front, 34 carries for 192 yards. Max Johnson had 13 carries for 39 yards, some of those being sacks. Kane had 19 carries for 159 yards, 8.4 average, and a touchdown. Long carry of 83 yards. Overall, Arkansas could not stop Kane. He's an incredible running back. I mean, he's looked at as one of the best running backs in the upcoming NFL draft, and we saw that for a reason, but Arkansas it's just frustrating to watch the defensive line dominate up front, 4-man, 3-man fronts, blitz packages, getting pressure. Arkansas gets that pressure, and then the quarterback throws the ball really quickly, and it's still a completion. It's just frustrating. And it felt like if, a Kane or Johnson got past the Arkansas defensive line, it was up to the linebackers in the secondary, and then they were picking up easy yards on us. It's Arkansas loading the box is something they really can't do with the secondary. We have to have that safety help, and it's just hard working with the safety numbers that we have in the secondary, and just the packages are blitzing and then letting up completions. It's just frustrating. That's the number one word I would use to describe this game. Just frustrating. Defensive line up front was very good. Isaiah Nichols, Zach Williams, Eric Gregory, a lot of those guys. Drew Sanders obviously getting pressure up front as he continues to add to an impressive season. He had a sack against Texas A&M, and then credited with the other half of the sack was a Zach Williams. Landon Jackson had a sack. Eric Gregory as well. Like I was talking about Miles Slusher, he was fantastic. 6 total tackles, 1 tackle for a loss and a pass deflection. Hudson Clark had a pretty good game on the corner side. McLaughlin, pretty well game as well. I thought those guys were decent in coverage, a couple plays here and there. But it really came down to Kane, the explosiveness of him working out for the Aggies, and what they were able to do on that side. Arkansas letting up only 17 points should be enough to win, but when you have the offense that struggled at times, third down, 6 out of 15, and Arkansas started the game, I believe, 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 6 on third downs. The third quarter was very hard to watch with Arkansas just constantly being put out there on defense. 415 total yards and 21 points, and you'd only score 21, like I said, and losing the game is frustrating. Arkansas did play a well-kept game on the side of it being, that not that many penalties, but there were so many other mistakes. Special teams, like I was talking about, they performed all right. I mean, nothing like impressive from the punt returns. Bryce Stevens had 2 punt returns for -1 yard. He had a muffed punt, but ended up getting back on that. Arkansas did not return any kicks. So on the return side, like I said earlier, not too impressive. That's what I was referring to. But the kicking and punting side of things was not that good. Cam Little, obviously 0 for 1 with a 42-yard field goal, 3 out of 3. He's been, like I said, he won a lot of games for Arkansas last season. He will win a lot of games for Arkansas this season. Do not judge Cam Little because of one mishap here in an important game. He's a fantastic kicker, and I believe that he will recover next weekend and be nailing them through the uprights. Max Fletcher, average punt, 36.3 yards. A couple of the punts just situationally did not come at a good time. Overall, Arkansas, just frustrating levels of just mental mistakes and things that really just beat ourselves up. And while Arkansas had these mistakes, mishap with the snap before the field goal, the missed field goal, missed tackling, couple play calls. These things are fixable mistakes, and the Arkansas secondary obviously had its mishaps, but they held A&M to 17 points, not counting the fumble. And while Arkansas has its concerns, as every college football team in America has, there's 8 more games left in the season. As I record this podcast, I'm sure the team has moved on and is now focusing on Alabama, but coming from, the media and podcasting side, I'm still going to recap this game. But Arkansas right now is 0-0 this week. Goal at the end of the week is to be 1-0 and beat Alabama. It's a big game coming up, and I'll have a preview of that out Wednesday. But Arkansas fought in this game, 14-0, 23 unanswered, and we still came back and had a chance to win. Like I said, I don't think the loss is on a single person or a single coaching staff or a single position group. You lose and win as a team, and that situation happened right here. But there's a lot to look forward to, and Arkansas has a lot of tough games coming up, but there's a lot of talent, and the Hogs just have to respond. It's not about how you go down, it's about how you respond. And if Arkansas can either beat them or have an impressive showing, that'll be positive. Then you go on the road to face Mississippi State, BYU, and then you have a bye week and get a little easier into the schedule, playing teams like Liberty, LSU, Auburn, Missouri. Things kind of toned down a little bit after this really tough 4-game stretch. But that is all for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Preview out for the Alabama game on Wednesday. It's going to be a crazy Saturday in Fayetteville. Can't wait for that one. But signing off for now, Woo Pig Suey.
That's all for today's episode of All Hog Sports with Sam Stimson. Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode covering all Arkansas Razorback sports. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media too. On Twitter and Instagram at All Hog Sports Pod. Like on Facebook at All Hog Sports and Arkansas Razorbacks Podcast. And on YouTube at that same name. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Go Hogs!